Sipho Mtombeni is the Government Affairs and Public Policy Manager for Google here in South Africa. He's going to be speaking to us today about cybersecurity, a conversation we should all care about. Mr. Mtombeni, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kathy, for that introduction. And yes, I have the pleasure of the midnight shift, and hey, might as well. My name is Sipho Mtombeni. I am Government Affairs and Public Policy Manager at Google, based here in South Africa. I'm here to talk to you about cybersecurity. And what is cybersecurity, you may ask yourself. And to a large extent, I'm a lawyer. I like definitions. Cybersecurity is defined as the art and the practice of protecting data, of protecting servers, protecting devices, etc., networks from malicious attacks. Malicious attacks can look like anything. We're talking here about phishing attacks. We're talking about a lot of other things, ransomware, malware that are taking place. And now more than ever, in the world that we live in, cybersecurity is quite important, as discussed. A lot of organizations across the world are wrestling with the problem as to how to deal with cyber attacks that are happening across the world. We as Google are investing in our AI technology and in new technology to make sure that we are staying in front of the curve when cyber attacks are taking place. We have, for instance, seen that with the most recent attacks in Ukraine and Russia, it has become so much more critical for nations and for governments and organizations to be prepared for anything in relation to cyber attacks. This is a new world, and this war has shown us just how important it is for us to make sure that we are protected. Unfortunately, what we're finding is that a lot of organizations are still working with legacy infrastructure which is quite vulnerable to attacks. And a lot of organizations, whether you're talking from a government point of view or from private sector, are not prepared and don't have the necessary skills and resources for them to be able to deal with the most recent waves of cyber attacks. We at Google are working and have a separate approach in terms of how we are dealing with cyber attacks. We have developed an approach which looks at these 4 pillars. We look at our products. We look at the ecosystem that which we operate in. We also look at the businesses that we are trying to protect, and also work with government to do so. I'll go into each of these pillars shortly to take you through how to do this. In relation to our products, we believe that our products should be designed with safety first in mind. So we already build in the security into our products. Rather than developing security software, we make sure that our software is secure. And in relation to even other products like our devices, we make sure that we do this with safety first in mind. We have doubled down also in relation to some of our collaboration and work that we do with other partners to make sure that we can achieve the objectives of keeping our product safe. Now, I'll just give you a few examples in terms of the products that I'm talking about, just so that you can get a sense as to exactly how Google is working to ensure that cybersecurity is at the core of what we do. We have the safe search feature on any time. Anywhere where you go into our Google, you can switch this on where it keeps you browsing in safety. If you were to go into a website that may contain malware, etc., our safe browsing features would warn you about that and make sure that you're not vulnerable to attacks. We also have built products such as your password manager. With Password Manager, you are able to keep and maintain passwords for all of your products, all of your services online, and making sure that you are keeping them secure. I don't know how many times I can tell you how many people have asked what their password is, and they're still defaulting to password 01, which is a problem because that makes you most vulnerable in terms of your information and that being vulnerable to attacks. Our products such as Gmail are also built to ensure that your safety is at utmost priority. We make sure that we do our checks in everything that we do, and our encryption technology makes sure that whatever information that you share and that you do share to people is not accessible to vulnerabilities. With Google Play, where we have our app stores, we constantly check over the 100 million apps, 100 billion actually, apps that we have in our Play Store. We also work with technologies that are directly built into our Chrome OS, which is our operating system, to make sure that it brings in all of these features and protects those who are using our systems. Now, we are also using our technology to make sure that we are keeping a community and a network in an ecosystem of collaborators. We believe in an open and transparent form of working, because we believe this is the best way to make sure that we can secure the internet and make sure that an open internet is one that we can all work with. But this would require collaboration and requires collaboration from us with government players, with researchers, and with other players. We thus work with open source factors and make sure that we can make access and accessible all of our products and our research work that we do at Google. We have currently at this stage published over 160 academic papers, research papers, which go into trying to understand cybersecurity and the aspects that need to be dealt with in that regard. We have also made investments in relation to training. Just last week, we launched our Google Career Certificate in cybersecurity. This would allow anybody, no requirements for prior learning. Anybody would go to be able to access our career certificate in cybersecurity. They would be able to learn the basics of cybersecurity, how to address cybersecurity, identify risks, and it would get them to be career ready for them to be able to then find a job in this regard at various aspects. As I said earlier, at Google, for us, it is important for us to make sure that our products are built with security already embedded. So with all of that said, it would mean our designers, our software designers and engineers, product designers, they would need to have some level of understanding in terms of security and cybersecurity risks that they would face. And again, opens up that opportunity for skills development and training to take place. Our career certificate currently that we have launched and made available around 2,000 scholarships for anybody to be able to access that training currently today. So I would encourage you, if you are looking to do training on cybersecurity or looking to provide that information, please do join at Google, at our Grow with Google website, and you're able to then access that training. We also work with recognized industry leaders in making sure that we are working to share information across with each other. Through our task teams that work within the Google, we are able to share information across industry where we have identified risks and vulnerabilities. This collaboration, this type of collaboration has helped us to make sure that we are staying ahead of the curve in relation to attacks and making sure our capabilities remain intact. We have recently acquired a company called Mandiant, which is the leader in cybersecurity, which again helps us as a company to be able to embed the work that we're doing in relation to cybersecurity into our products. We have products, for instance, like your reCAPTCHA, which makes sure that you're not able to protect automated attacks from automated attacks. We have developed and introduced products such as security keys, which allow for the information to be protected against phishing and for account takeovers. We've also, as I've mentioned, built within our Chrome OS Flex, Chrome OS products, warnings and security updates that are there to make sure that the most up-to-date information is kept. We also have products such as the Advanced Protection Program, which allows us to keep safe high-risk individuals and organizations. So think, for instance, about the elections, the South African elections that are coming up soon. We need to be able to make sure that we keep information that is kept by political parties, candidates who are working, because they would be most vulnerable to attacks. We work with them in this Advanced Protection Program to make sure that their information is protected and that vulnerabilities are identified as soon as possible. We have a threat analysis group that works to identify risks proactively, especially where it leads to what we have seen recently that are happening with government-backed government-backed attacks that are happening as what we've seen earlier in the war. These threats are then identified, and as I've mentioned, we do share this information across industry to make sure that we're able to share best practices and identify those risks ahead of time. We also then work with high-risk users to make sure that information around campaigns and any other information that is sensitive is kept safe. So in relation to the future of what it looks like and what we're doing in cybersecurity, we have identified that there is a big risk that takes place in relation to the attacks that we're facing. However, there's a great opportunity where we are able to now use technology like AI and all of the other technology that is being developed now to make sure that we're using that to be defensive against such cyber attacks. But in the same way as we're doing work every day to make sure that our products are staying safe and that people who are using our products are staying safe, we do know that the people who are working maliciously are trying to constantly cover that. And I think this is somewhere where we know that these are opportunities that are going to require skills in the future to make sure that we're keeping our internet and our ecosystem safe for use by all. And I think with that, I will leave it at that and see if there are any other questions that are rising. But if you require more information, please do go to safety.google to get more information on this. Kathy, I hope there's very little questions.
Thanks for that, Sipho. I want to know, can I also apply for special protection of my information? What do you need to do to be part of that collective?
Sure. I mean, as I said, these are high risk, high profile people, especially within the context of elections, if you would think about that. Political candidates, you would think about people who are leading organizations of that nature. They would necessarily be the ones who would fall into those categories. So, hey, I think why not, Kathy? I mean, if you fit within the criteria, you would definitely fall within that and qualify to be assisted in that regard.
You know, the issue around cybersecurity is so big, and I think sometimes it's about lacking just the tools for what we need to do to protect ourselves at a basic level. You spoke about the issue of password 01.
Yes.
You know, that is a bad idea. We should move away from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Correct.
So what else should we be doing in as far as those passwords are concerned? Because you also want something you're going to remember.
Correct.
And that's really the issue here.
So the easy thing and the wonderful thing that happens now is that with products like our password manager, is that it assists you to choose a password or to create a password, which is quite a strong password. It also helps you to maintain it and keep it so that you don't necessarily have to worry about remembering it. But even the organization, in terms of getting into it, it is protected within itself. But there are also other features that have been introduced, for instance, such as two-factor authentication, where when I log into my email on a different laptop, which is not mine, it would require me to also authenticate on my cell phone that it is actually me. Those types of things and those types of features also help to make sure that things like passwords, and we are actually moving into a more password-less future where we're not going to be relying on passwords, but there's been a bigger use in terms of biometrics, other forms of two-factor authentication methods, but we are moving away where we are not getting to passwords, because I think we are all worried about this whole thing of remembering 10 different passwords for all your different accounts.
Sipho, all I hear is that our fingers and our eyes are at risk, okay? Here's an important question. It's about the spam emails. Cynthia wants to know, how can I see that an email is spam? Because it doesn't always go into the spam folder.
Correct. One thing that I can speak to Gmail about, I do know Gmail would always give you a warning if an email looks dodgy or it looks like it's not coming from an authoritative form. So look out for those emails. It would be a banner right at the top of the email. Look out for those kinds of warnings. Those are things that we've built into our system to make sure that they are coming from the correct people. But also, I think one of the most simplest things is just to use our eyes. When you are getting an email and it purports to be an official email, look at the email address. Is it an actual official email address? Is it if it's coming from an academic institution, is it coming from a .ac.za? if you're looking at websites or you're going into a website, one of the things that we're trying to advocate for is that you use websites that have HTTPS, that's a secured website. And I think a lot of people would see that lock right in the browser, correct? So those are the just type of small things that we as people can just do for ourselves. Just assess what you are actually looking at, what information you're getting, and make sure that it makes sense to you.
The point you're making about websites with that little lock on top, because we have a lot of duplication of websites.
Correct.
Hackers are constantly coming up, and the name of the website sounds like the legitimate one.
Correct.
It looks like the legitimate one.
Correct.
It's just that one feature that literally gives it away.
And really, it is those little details that you must look out for, because as much as a lot of them do try to imitate and look as good as the others, but things like the web address would give you a clue.
Yeah.
So before you just click on any website or you just open any website, so firstly, things like when somebody sends you an email, says click here, go to a website, don't do that, because you don't know what they're sending you to, especially if you don't know who the information is coming from. But those little things around the email address or the website address, you will be able to see the details, because luckily those are security features that we've been able to agree on as industry to make sure that we are keeping people protected from those types of attacks.
That's so important, especially if you're using a credit card to buy anything online.
Yeah.
Sipho, Tulani wants to know, how far have you gone? All right, no, this is Vusi's question for you.
Okay.
Does artificial intelligence breach the law in regard to cybersecurity in the context of information that is produced by AI?
So, Vusi, the question of artificial intelligence and the law is quite a novel one for a lot of us. And I did say for myself as a lawyer, it's an interesting question that we're looking at. And I think within our company, within Google, one thing that we're doing is making sure that we are using AI in a responsible manner, because some of the law has not caught up with it, right? So I think one of the issues that came out a few weeks ago was with one of the chatbots that created music in the fashion of a certain famous artist. And the questions came about around, how do you regulate those types of things? Is this now music that is owned by that artist because they have fashioned it against that artist's type of music? But to a large extent, there's no answers to those questions as yet. As government and policymakers are still working to try and make sure that appropriate policies are set for AI. So there's a lot in the air of what we don't know. We at Google have taken the responsible approach. We are taking it very slowly, making sure that we are doing this responsibly without pushing the boundaries of any laws. So that's at least what I can speak about in terms of what we are doing.
Sipho, there's an important point being made by Lebohang here, and she'll be our final question for your session. And she touches on the issue of cyberbullying and how difficult it is, especially from companies. So I asked you about the spam earlier. Lebohang is building on it. She also wants to know, how are some of these people able to get, one's email address? Because first it starts with them harassing you on your phone. When they don't get a hold of you, suddenly they're in your inbox and you think, where are you getting my information from?
Yeah. So this is again why it's important what information you share and with who. One thing that has happened in South Africa recently is that a lot of institutions, like your credit institution, the ITUs, the other places where they do have consumer data, have been hacked, have been subject to breaches in terms of information. Unfortunately, through something like that, it means that the people with malicious acts are then having access to your information. And this could be your name, your surname, your email address, your cell phone number. Hopefully, they don't have any other information in terms of your credit card numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And with that information, that they then use it to then kind of come and harass you, try to get more information from you, get you to act in some way. So these are somehow where it happens that you get into a phishing scam or into a ransomware scam. But again, it's quite important, unfortunately, because of the breaches that take place at an institution or like at the credit bureau, because that's what happened about 2 months ago. they took a lot of data from consumers, and unfortunately, that's how your information is then breached. That's why for us at Google, it's important for us to work with government and such institutions to make sure they are secure so that your consumer information is also secure.
Mr. Mtombeni, thank you so much for your insights in this conversation.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.